Welcome to Actual Scale Modelling. This is part 7 of the Airfix Hellcat Scale 124. In part 6 I've put on the wings and finished off the interstructure. In part 7 I'm going to be building the engine. So let's have a look at this. So I'll start with building the main body structure. This is basically essentially just a tube. The part I'm putting in here, you don't have to put it in if you're putting a motor in. You would actually leave this part out. The two halves go together easily enough. There's not much going on here, just the two parts married together. It's then painted in Revel Aquaquartz 78 tank grey. You can even paint this in a metal colour if you wish, or indeed the fuselage colour. It's entirely up to the builder. I've looked at a few photographs on this, and it seems to be whatever colours at hand, really. Next is a series of parts that get pushed onto this. This one's painted in 99 aluminium. Now, these are very tight fitting. In fact, you can barely get them on. You will have to trim them down, or you're going to have to find a way to push them down. I'm quite strong and I couldn't get it down. So what I did was I used one of my files and had to tap it down into position. They're extremely tight. You won't need any cement. In the other ones, I decided to trim the inner rim before placing them on. And you have to push it down right as far as it can go, or all the parts won't fit onto this tube or stem. So make sure it goes right down to the next part. Now this part is painted in the 99 aluminium colour, and that's just for the collar around the spindles, and the spindles is H28 metallic black by Mr. Hobby. So as you can see, I'm having the same problem, but this time I'm using my hobby knife to trim the inner part. This works out better. There's less chance of damaging the unit while pushing it on. As before, you're going to have to push it right down until it's hard against the part that's already been placed on. So make sure it goes right down. There is a channel that runs right down it, you can see there, and there's a little knob of plastic, and that just helps you guide the proper position. So for this part, the main part is 99 aluminium once more, and the colour around it is the 78 tank grey. So there's two different tones of colour here. And as before, you push it down. The spindle should connect to the adjacent part here. The little parts pointing down. The spindle lies onto it. So again, make sure it's all the way down. And also there's two parts to this particular unit I'm putting on now. So make sure it's the right one and it's the proper way around. And now we have these little cross beams to go in, and it's painted in X32 titanium silver by Tamiya, and they just bridge over the main unit here, just at the top. There's tiny little location points for them. Just have a look at the instructions to see exactly where they're going. Now my instructions are not clear at all because I'm on the page where I had the print issue, so I found it difficult to find out where to put them. But after a little bit of research, I was able to manage it. When you push this one on, I recommend actually cementing this one onto the other part. It does lock in quite tightly, but you don't want any seams, and if you don't get them married up in a tight manner, let's say, you will end up with a bit of seam, and it's very difficult to get rid of the seams on these sort of parts. So a little bit of cement, and that should take care of the problem. So far this is always part that I've had to cement. So next is this black collar. Now this part doesn't get cemented at all. The instructions, they'll leave it completely free. So just let it sit on the unit. It will probably fall off until you put on your next part. And your next part is exactly like the other parts that I placed on. And when you put the next part on again, push it right down. Now you're going to squeeze this black collar that is on, and it should, each link as such, it should go in between the open spaces of that part of the engine. Sounds a bit confusing, but the easiest way to do it is there's a little nub of plastic that sticks out, and that goes at the bottom of the engine. So when you press it down, it will compact inside the engine, and that's what you want. And as all that's left to do in this stage is put on the other two parts. As you can see, they're exactly the same as the previous ones. They just go on reverse order as such. And this is where also you'll find out whether or not you've pushed them all down far enough. If you haven't, it'll be extremely difficult to get the parts back off or pushed down. So this is why it's so important to get that first one in position. If you don't, all the rest will be out, and it'll just be a nightmare trying to fix. So next is the part that's going to be connected into the prop. You can have this free moving. It's painted in red, what I call a 78 tank grey. If you want it free moving, it's a very simple process. This collar goes in first, and I'm just dry fitting it here just to make sure I know how it goes. But don't place the collar inside the main unit. The collar actually goes inside the dome covering. And the reason for that is it just fits better, and it's less glue inside the chamber for the actual shank to get any glue on. So if you just insert that first and let it dry a little bit, and then put in the shaft that way before cementing in the dome. And I guess a tight fit, you won't need a lot of cement, but I would say cement it in place, because obviously you don't want this part to go under any pressure if you're having your prop moving. Of course, you wouldn't put in this part, the shaft, if you're putting in an engine, but this is where it would come out of. In fact, the engine would sit in the whole compartment inside. It's a very good design. So next we have this collar going on, and this is painted in Revel Aquacolor 92 brass. I painted it on both sides because you will see glimpses of it while you're looking at the engine block. Again, with this, try and get it as tight as possible to the component it's lying onto. A little bit of cement will be required once more just to fit it in. You can hold it into place, or you can use a little clamp just to hold it there if you don't want to hold it into place, but it shouldn't give you any problems. So now we're coming to the ignition leads. Now the instruction says these are optional, you don't have to put them in or not, but with such a detailed engine I'd be ashamed to not put them in. So I'm using some wire here, and this is one strand copper wire, so basically it's just one piece of copper wire inside the sheath, and this is what you're looking for. You don't want the multiple ones. So if you've got any spare copper wire, have a look to make sure, one, it's the right thickness. This is about 0.5, 0.7 is actually what they call for on this. So as you can see here, I've cut various lengths according to the instructions, and I'm just grouping them into how I want them. Now, the way I cut them off the sheath is dangerous. Don't do it the way I do it. Use some wire strippers to do it. I wouldn't want you to cut your fingers. So to place this in, it's quite simple. It looks daunting at first, but there's various little recess points where you lay this wire into, and there's a category from A to F. And what I've done is, as I said, I separated them. And even though there's a category A to F, to help you block it down, to break it down even, you can put them in blocks of 4, A to D. Sounds a bit complicated, but once you look at the instructions, you can see how it goes. Now, the reason why I'm breaking it down into those blocks is because it's a repeating block after the fourth length goes in according to the instructions. So they fit onto the brass collar that I put on first, and then they go into the various little location points throughout the engine. They're all the same all the way through once you do the block of 4. So once you've got that initial block in place, it's just a matter of repeating as you go around until you reach the bottom, and then you have the F and the E to go in, or the E and F if you want to do them alphabetical order. So I'm just placing them in. These are just test fins, even though I have glued a couple in at the moment. But the main thing here is to get them all sorted in a category, getting ready to use. Well, I'm going to bring this part to an end now. There's still a lot of work to do on the engine. In the next part, I shall carry on putting in the ignition leads, and we'll see how we get on from there. But the next leads will take quite a bit of time to do. So in the meantime, why don't you check out the channel for my other videos, indeed the rest of the videos for this build. Subscribe to the channel as well for the upcoming updates. Hit that like button, and of course leave a comment. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.